The texts presented below were born from a summary of what was said one evening, in a room we called the basement, beneath the Porto Alegre Planetarium in 1976. Like the very subjects they develop, they bear the mark of a unique event and, therefore, a rare one. The city's planetarium, inaugurated approximately 4 years earlier, had already become, within only a few years, a meeting place for the curious, students, and lovers of the sky. But on that particular night, its underground level served another purpose. A small group, gathered in silence and far from the instruments aimed at infinity, listened to a talk that was not about the stars, but about consciousness. The dim red glow of the technical lamps, the metallic smell of obsolete equipment, and the damp chill of the southern Brazilian dawn helped create an atmosphere in which the world itself seemed suspended. There, far removed from everyday life, a few people remained after the scheduled presentation at the planetarium to hear, for the first time, ideas that challenged conventional logic. What followed was not merely a conversation, but the birth of a vision that would span decades. It fell to me to gather and give coherence to the notes of the 4 friends who, besides myself, had the habit of writing in notebooks that they carefully preserved, for we were living through times of violent repression. I realized there would be no possibility of producing a definitive text, even with the approval of the only one who was still alive, when I prepared the first version. As it happened, I found, in the library known as Centro do Cruzeiro, which housed the works from the other 4 libraries that together formed the Brazilian library, small notes written beneath subtitles, in a notebook by an unnamed author. Those references could never be accurately connected to the ones I had compiled, although they would certainly have complemented them had they been fully developed. Nor was I able to record their origin, as I had already become distant from that environment, and did not know whether any of those people were still alive. At that time, I was about to turn 24 years old, and was the youngest person present that night. Each person's story revealed much about why we were part of that moment. Few people, apart from those 4, maintained frequent contact. I later learned that they belonged to the same society, shared many common interests, and were founders of a center for publications and studies devoted to what is still called spiritual science, an institution that remains active to this day. It was the need to bring those texts together that united us, and every division into topics, titles, and subtitles was established by common agreement. Only one generated uncertainty for some time, not because of disagreement, but because it did not seem to summarize the content adequately. Today I understand the reason for those discussions, and for the care taken in harmonizing both the texts and their titles. What follows is far from conclusive, and I repeat what was always said during our gatherings. Always doubt, as long as the answer is not unique, and does not come from within. The questions asked within that intimate circle, after a brief informal talk, were not seeking practical answers, they were seeking direction. They were questions about what happens within an individual when awakening begins, about the weight of lucidity, about inner dangers, and about the journey that transforms someone into one of the rare. Every answer given that night was more than an explanation, it was a seed. From those seeds grew the body of ideas that I now transcribe and share with the world. The atmosphere of that gathering shaped the tone of the texts I now strive to reproduce faithfully. It was not a public event, not a formal class, nor an academic lecture. It was an underground meeting, both literally and symbolically, where restless minds sought to understand the inner movement they already felt, but had not yet learned to name. The observatory, whose purpose was to look outward into the distance, became the perfect setting for speaking about looking inward. For this reason, these texts carry the density of something that was not created for the masses, but for a few. They were born from questions spoken in low voices, from profound inner unrest, and from a sincere search for meaning. And now, as they are translated for the world, they preserve that origin, not as a manifesto, but as the record of an intimate conversation that, through its depth, transcended the time and place where it first emerged. What is read here is the echo of that night. An echo that crossed decades, crossed borders, and now offers itself as a guide to those who feel the same calling that those few people felt in 1976.